The war against tokenism. This isn't in response to anyone in particular, but this is just a response to a culmination of videos and sentiments that I have been noticing throughout the years on YouTube. The sentiment that if you are a particular, let's just cut this down the line, if you're a black man, you are not allowed in any sort of way, or if you are, then you have to go in as a token with reservations. And there are some legitimate reasons why you may want to be more concerned with being the only black guy in a group of non-blacks. I'm not going to even deny that there are cautions that you have to take in order to keep your respect and keep your dignity. However, with that being stated, there is an obvious war against black men who find themselves to be on the other side of the former rotten corpse of the so-called black community. Shout out to Gake Jones in its statement. So as far as this war on tokenism is concerned, everyone seems to have this thing in which they will point the finger, and I'm not just talking about non-black individuals. I'm talking about those within the community, particularly those who find themselves to be in a place where they are stuck within the community, they won't be able to function, in some cases literally outside the community, or they drape themselves in the image of someone who is of the community, particularly the stereotypes, or those who preach the pro-whack message. You know who those individuals are. But as far as this is concerned, they never criticize other races, particularly other minorities who do this. See, tokenism, for some reason, is okay when a Latino or an Asian, a Pacific Islander, a Middle Eastern, an Indian person does this. But when a black person does this, oh goodness no. We have the special, unique history, the history like no other, and that's the reason why you can't do it. You can't do it. But Ahmed can, and Sanchez can, and Hung Yu can, and Taoki can, but you can't do this. No, First of all, notice how it's always targeted towards one, black men, and two, thinking black men, particularly thinking black men. And the reason why I say thinking black men, it's because of this. Whenever they use an example of an individual who is being the token, they will always use the example of the stereotypical Carlton as a case study on how token black guys specifically. Oh, and that's the other thing. They never say token black females. They never criticize when a black female is a token. You will never hear these individuals talk trash about them, which goes without saying for the obvious reasons, because we can't piss off the matriarchy. And I'm not even the kind of person who's against black women being tokens and dating out. If you are, feel free to listen to this message and take the advice from here, as I would suggest thinking black men too, because you all are tokens for reasons as well as us. I mean, let's just be honest, which I'll explain later. But as far as thinking black men, the reason why they only criticize us is because when they use tokenism as an example, they will always point to how the so-called Carlton archetype is the one who is trying to go out of his way to appease and please his non-black friends. Now, in some cases, this is something that is overcompensating, and I'll give the critics that much. But listen to how these individuals, and this is where they become disingenuous. Listen to how these individuals, while criticizing the guy who goes far to the right and trying to be the prim and proper, clean-cut black guy, they never go after the guy who is to the far left and trying to be the Pookie and Ray Ray, or wannabe Pookie and Ray Ray, or just outright clown stereotype. You see, like Parent Susan said, you see, whenever it comes to tokenism, it's okay if you're a stereotype. It's okay if you're doing the shuck and jive and nah mean shorty and turning your cap sideways and the gold chains and the rims on your teeth and the ices in your car. That's all good, because we all know what it is. Hood culture is good culture. That is the culture. That's real culture. And to be fair, a lot of these individuals may have a point, because from my observations, when you're talking about disingenuous non-whites, a lot of them appreciate and are less threatened by the stereotypical Negro, the Bebe Kid, as we like to call on this channel, than they are by the token charlatans. A lot of these individuals don't realize that if you are a quote-unquote square, an educated EL, or just a thinking black man, a lot of individuals who are truly prejudiced and racist can't justify their feelings. And like Romwell says, in some cases, if you shatter their beliefs, you can make them sick, even to the point of death. So, a lot of the ones who are truly racist actually don't like clean-cut blacks way more than they despise stereotypical ones. It's easier for disingenuous non-blacks who don't really care for blacks to hang out with the stereotypes if they want to hang out with any blacks at all. Also, those who criticize you for being an outright token, thinking black men, because let's be honest, as we said it before, they don't criticize non-blacks for doing this, and they don't criticize black females for doing this. And before I get to my next point, you all want to criticize black men who are clean-cut, and I'm not talking about those who are bending out of their way and being all conservative and saying, that hick didn't do nothing. He didn't do nothing to that innocent black kid who wrongfully got killed in MAGA Trump America. Look, we gotta make America great again by not calling out all the incidents that happened. I'm not talking about when Pookie gets shot down by a cop. Oh, that's easy. Everyone goes out of their way for that. I'm talking about when you got innocent black kids who didn't do nothing, or people get accused in the justice system. But justice is always right, and the cops are always right. I'm not talking about those conservatards. Those individuals are basically in alignment with certain other minority men who will bend over in order to get acceptance from the dominant society. There are individuals and other races who do the exact same thing, if not worse. If you don't believe me, look at the next time you see a token white guy who is probably dating one of their women, and you got one of the men, we know which race we're talking about here, especially who's guilty of this, they will just shuck and jive and try to appease that guy and not have any sort of reservations whatsoever. It's to the point where it's freaking pathetic. This is why, with all the criticisms given to Latinos in this country about how they hate black people, well, they don't bend over like that to the dominant society neither. At the very least, yeah, they'll let a gringo date their daughter and marry their daughters and sisters and whatever, but they're going to put him through the ringer in many cases. So what I saw, it isn't some si senor, oh my goodness, the Blanco, oh my, whoa. Like this shit is overblown at this point. The ones I deal with and the ones I hang out with, they will put an Anglo through the test of seeing if they're worthy to date their daughters as much as they will for a Negro or any other group of individuals or men within their own race. I'll give them that much consistency, unlike certain minorities, particularly those that I've seen where I currently live right now, which is a whole... Anyway, to those who criticize token blacks, ask yourselves this. What alternative do you have, huh? You keep telling thinking black men on what not to do. Don't look at the Becky over there, and don't try to assimilate to their culture, and don't integrate. You don't integrate. What's your damn alternative, huh? What? Tell them to go back to the community? Tell them to go back to a dump? Tell them to go back to a place that isn't viable anymore? Or tell them to go to a place where they weren't wanted, which is probably the reason why they ended up integrating and assimilating and going all token? What alternative do you have for these tokens who were more likely isolated and ostracized and forced to be exiled by their own community? That's the thing that a lot of people here don't want to tell. They don't want to admit that. I mean, a lot of you are the same ones who complain about how, well, the other side in dumb society, they don't want to admit their racism, and they don't want to come to terms, and they don't want to dialogue, and they don't want to do this, and they don't want to say Thug Lives Matter, and they don't want to take away the stop shooting frisk laws. Oh my goodness, we're still living in the 60s. It's 2020, but we haven't moved the dial one bit. The dialogue isn't there. Oh my goodness, where are our reparations though? I'm ADOS. Oh wait, it's FBA this week. I guess. Oh, look, Snack Max says FBA. It's FBA. Well, Yvette Carnell, she's a light-skinned woman, and I love the light skin, so I gotta stick up for my ADOS sisters, but Lipscott Mac, I don't want him to come to my house and cook me. So I gotta get back to you on which side I'm taking. Let me get back to that. These SJWs and pro-wax, whoever, they don't have any sort of alternative for you as a thinking black man on where to go. And there are places where you may not have a choice, honestly. You may have to choose between a bunch of disingenuous Bebe's kids and a bunch of disingenuous non-blacks. And to that, if you don't have a choice, then stick it out alone. Stick it out alone until you get to a place where you can deal with pragmatic individuals, regardless of the race. Because if they had a great culture, and this is one thing I'm going to agree with some of the more genuine black females who date outside the race, as well as the thinking black men who do. If the community had a culture that was so freaking great, we would not be looking on the outskirts of it. We would not be looking from the outside of it. That's just what it is. But before I go, I will state this. Do not bend over to impress those who will not respect you. Now, you as an individual will have to determine if you're being respected or not. And it's very easy to do, honestly. If you are receiving the same amount of invites to go to parties as your non-black friends, that's fine. If you are being connected and hooked up with the same amount of fine chicks as your non-black friends are, you're good. If you're getting job opportunities and vacation invites and everything else as your non-black friends are, you're good. That's good. It's all good. If you're being invited to houses of your non-black friends constantly, when everyone else is partying on social media, Instagram, Snapchat, when you're seeing all those stories, and if you're a part of it, then all right, there's nothing to worry about. Now, if none of those things are happening, or if you tend to be the guy who is looking at the stories but you're not in it, then there's a problem. There's an issue, obviously. And these are simple indicators on if the group you're in really respects you as a person or if they're just using you as a token. But never bend over and try to go out of your way to appease anyone in order to be accepted. Now, they never tell you to do this when it comes to your own people, your own tribe. There's nothing wrong with bending over and being a Bebe kid in order to be accepted by the community and the other Bebe's kids. Okay, that's fine, but you don't bend over and be proper now for those white folks, But in any case, regardless of who you hang out with, regardless of if you're the only black person in your circle, don't bend over to try to appease individuals outside of things that are considered common courtesy. Don't try to either be an overcompensating conservative or a shucking and jiving dancing monkey or Bebe kid. Everyone else out there, always bet on X.